you were recently back on the market, which was interesting to see someone who was an expert at helping people find work, and you then had to dive in and become the job seeker and seek out work. And I just want to get, your thoughts on your experience as a job seeker. What was it like? What were some of the biggest challenges you faced, given that you have the expertise to go out there and know exactly what hiring managers are looking for, because you yourself are one. So it's a really interesting perspective to get from someone who, the roles were reversed, say. So yeah, what was your experience like?
Indifferent, I guess, is the way to summarize it. Unfortunately, I think I was then witness to a lot of bad practices that are currently being conducted by recruiters in the industry. So I had some great experiences, some great chats with recruiters that were consistent, continual, and were supportive. I had ones where they reached out to me, had a role for me, made me sign all kind of right to represent and so forth and register with their agency, to then find that the role that I was put forward to didn't hear for 2 weeks, had to chase myself. I was ghosted. I had offers to meet directors, then materialised, and then the recruiter that I was talking to was then posting on LinkedIn continually, ignoring my messages. So I get now I always was aware of it, but now I fully see from experiencing it myself that the ethics, the behaviours, the practice of recruiters still needs to be improved, because it's almost as if they don't like giving bad news, or they don't want to kind of reject someone face to face. They're happy to kind of sit behind a keyboard and hit reject. When it comes to having that conversation, just pick up the phone, and very few do. So that's what I've kind of found. And also there's a lot of unneeded process and steps in the process, and the amount of times that companies don't really know what they want. And I've interviewed with them and they've been like, oh, now we spoke to you and read the scope of works, the role's different now, it's changed. So I think a lot of people now, from my experience too, is an issue of process. Companies, how they bring candidates through the pipeline and the steps needed, and it's testing, or I've had to do presentations, I've had to do SWOT analysis, employer brand reviews, and all the while I'm thinking, is this really relevant to the process you'll put me through for the role you're going to offer me? Other people that, even the salaries too, there have been ones that are 40k, ones that are 120k. So the industry right now is just completely, I think, look, candidates now have more choice because there's more roles out there. But then it also seems that then, because that's the case, you'd have thought companies would be more better with their process around attraction, retention, communication, but they're not. So the job that I've taken, I had 2 interviews, one with the head of HR, one with the global head of HR, offered in 2 weeks. Others, I still haven't heard back now, Paddy. I applied to them back in July time. Yeah. Still haven't heard back on the next steps of some interviews.
Nuts. And yeah, I've heard it's crazy out there, and I've heard of 11-stage interview processes as well, which is, it's just insane. And what seems to be happening is, like, first of all, what you talked about, where people are afraid to give bad news. It's like, naturally most people want to avoid conflict, and it's much easier to just tell a candidate that they're not getting put forward to the next stage, not have to take that call and listen to a few seconds of their pain. But from the candidate side, they don't know where they stand. So you're thinking in your head, you're anticipating that there's still an opportunity here to join this company, and you're still a bit optimistic about the opportunity, and it's in your head. But when there's no closure, it just takes up that mental space, and that can take its toll on the job seeker when you're out there, and perhaps all you're getting is rejection, and this just builds and builds and builds, and it can really take a toll on your confidence. Why do you
Yeah,
think it is that?
did mine as well.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, so yeah, you're right there, and it's what perhaps didn't touch on, but you brought it up was quite eloquently was, yeah, my mental health. Even though I had a big network of people, 35,000 followers on LinkedIn, people think assume that followers guarantee you interviews or guarantee you jobs. They don't. Just more visibility. You still have to go through the process of interviewing, having rejections, and after a while, you do kind of think, you know, is it me? And you do question yourself. I think what I've learned is, look, it's not me that's the issue here, or the problem, or it's not my fault. It's basically I'm not the right fit for that company, and they equally don't deserve my skill sets. So it's always a case of taking rejection as like, well, what's wrong with me? It's a case of, well, perhaps it's not me that's a problem. It's the company, their process, how they conduct themselves, or generally, I don't fit into their demographic of people or personality or skills, and vice versa. So you're right in saying that yeah, Mo, I did question myself at times, then realise, well, no, I haven't got to where I am today from luck. It's down to the skills that I have. It's just finding the right employer, the right recruiter that sees that and goes, yeah, this is the person we want.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And even sometimes it can just come down to personality, how much I like the person I'm talking to. And then you'll make the decision purely based on emotion, and then you'll rationalize it with the logical mind, where it might not actually make sense, but your emotions steer the decision. So yeah, it's about trying to, yeah, that self-talk is hugely important, and it's great that you had the awareness to look at the bigger picture and realize, look, I'm in the game 8+ years. Like, I know my stuff, so it will happen eventually. But it's interesting that you touched on the personal brand side. So I seen you put up a post on LinkedIn that last time I checked, you might have to update me, but it reached over 500,000 users on the platform, hundreds of comments, everyone singing your praises, everyone championing your skills. You've created this unbelievable network through what you've given back to the community on LinkedIn, which is one of the great aspects of LinkedIn. And still, it wasn't a straightforward process with the reach of the post, telling everyone that you're available and you're open to discussions about employment and new opportunities. And it still wasn't straightforward. You still had to go through all the sludge, all the pain that most job seekers have to go through it. Because I just thought when I seen that post, he's gonna be offered a job directly just from writing up that post.
Yeah, I think this is why I think someone put a post out the other day as well that was like, CVs are now dead, your personal brand's where it's at for getting jobs. And of course, I disagreed and said, well, I did a post, I've got a strong personal brand, it had 500,000 views. I didn't get an offer on the spot. I got approached quite a bit, which is really nice to see. But equally, it's always a case of, right, conversation, right, definitely synergy here, what you want, what we're offering, now send me a CV. So I think people want to conduct it. I think it's down again to the whole inclusion side of it, and making sure, of course, that it's ethical for everyone that's coming in the process, that if suddenly I then had a chat with a head of HR and got offered the job, but didn't go through the same process as the other candidate, and that got found out, I think so people are trying to be more careful now about making sure that every candidate gets the same experience. And yeah, I think what's happened more recently is that, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of coffee chats now prior to going through the process to make sure, and no one will admit it, but you're a face fit, you're a personality fit, your ways of working around your industry, recruitment, finance, marketing, matches their vision. If it doesn't, there's no point in putting you forward. So I had numerous coffee chats before even going to interview stages. But I think you're right what you say, personal brand will definitely help you become visible, because having that many followers, of course, you know how it is with LinkedIn. You like a post, your network sees that you like that post, and then of course from there they'll then see it. So 100% it helps to put out, good content first of all, not just any kind of shite. So I saw now, I guess I can swear on this podcast,
Oh,
but
absolutely. Please.
if not, I think we've done pretty well to get, 15 minutes in for the first swear
Yeah.
word. So, but yeah, you can't just dump any old shite out there and hope it lands. So it's about having good content that's personable, that's authentic, and then also having a good network. So I was very lucky to kind of have the outreach, and I had people reaching out to me about jobs that weren't on the market. So yeah, I think it's leverage your personal brand to basically create exposure, but still make sure you have, a really tight CV, and that you have obviously able to present your experience and skill set correctly when questioned.
Yeah, absolutely.